Hey everyone, it's Pocket Princess Cosplay, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Pokemon cosplay and how to design your very own. Now I know that Pokemon cosplays can seem really overwhelming because there are just so many choices to be made, but I made a guide that simplifies this process and hopefully it's easy to follow. So I broke the guide into 6 different parts. First one being, of course, choosing the Pokemon. The second one, identifying the main characteristics of the Pokemon, like what makes it recognizable. The next part would be choosing an outfit theme, sketching the idea out, placing the colors and material, and finally, planning the budget. So the first part needs no explaining. You choose your Pokemon, whether you want it to be a shiny or a mega, it's all up to you. Once you decide what Pokemon you want to do, now you're going to try to identify all the characteristics of that Pokemon. What makes it recognizable? Definitely want to keep color in mind, of course. And patterns, if it has wings, a tail, the ears, really anything that stands out on the Pokemon. Now when we're talking about these characteristics, if it's wings for example, you don't have to make a pair of wings for this particular Pokemon. But you do want to make sure that they're incorporated into the design in some way. So we're going to use good old Beedrill as an example. So it has the drills, the antenna, the wings, it has stripes and a stinger, red eyes, and then also you want to make the little color palette. So let's do one more example with Luxray. So for Luxray we have the star on the tail, it has dark spikes throughout it, stripes on the front paws, round ears, red and yellow eyes, and then of course the color scheme. So once you have all those characteristics, it's time to pick an outfit theme. Here's a couple things to keep in mind while you're deciding on an outfit theme. Those characteristics that we just talked about should stay in your mind while you are looking at outfits, and try to think where you could incorporate those characteristics into the outfit. Now you'll also want to think whether you want to have a prop like a sword and accessories like hats. This step is very crucial. Make sure to do your research on your outfit. Some outfits have cultural and historical significance, and you don't want to be culturally insensitive. Plus, when you research it, it helps you better understand your theme, which in the long run ends up helping you design a better costume. Photo references are also very helpful. I like to keep a couple while I'm working on a costume and pull at least one thing from each image, and that really helps make your own outfit and not just copy one full picture. For instance, if your theme is going to be Lolita, I would suggest looking at many different Lolita dresses to keep your options open. Try to stick to one theme and not do multiple themes in one, because it can kind of lose what you're going for. You always want to plan ahead with these costumes. It is much easier than winging it, because sometimes you lose sight of the image and it just does not end up looking how you wanted it to. Sometimes it's helpful to keep the Pokemon's type in mind when you're stuck on picking a theme, because sometimes it can just be obvious, like picking a bathing suit theme for a water type. But of course, it doesn't have to be something obvious. It could be something completely different from the type of the Pokemon, but it's just something to keep in mind. That's the great thing about Pokemon cosplay, is you can really interpret a Pokemon hundreds of different ways, and with any theme really, and you just can't go wrong with it as long as the characteristics and the color is in the right place. Now if you're really stuck, I would highly suggest looking at humanized versions of the Pokemon online, and even what other cosplayers have chosen for their themes on that particular Pokemon. Now this is of course a video on making your own design, so I don't condone copying other people's designs or their entire cosplay. There are artists out there that make designs that are totally free to be cosplayed, and they enjoy other people cosplaying their designs, but always make sure that you have permission and don't just assume because you can see it that you can cosplay it. You know, you still want to change some stuff about it if you are absolutely unsure. Play it safe and just use it as inspiration. Alright, moving forward to sketching and mapping out the design. You will probably go through a few rough draft designs before sticking with a final one. It's okay to use a base if you're just trying to get that design on paper, on the computer, just figuring it out. It's okay to use bases. And you actually don't necessarily have to draw it out at all. You can just make a photo collage of the different pieces of clothing. So as for an example, I'm gonna do a Lolita style Glaceon. So as you can see, I have a couple references of dresses that I liked. So I started off knowing that I wanted to have a wig that had the full set of bangs in the front, just like Glaceon has, and also two pieces that hang down. Personally, I like to add ears to the evolutions. So a key part of Glaceon's design is diamond shapes. So I wanted to keep the diamond shape going through the dress with diamond shaped buttons, and the shape that comes down from Glaceon's ears, I really like that shape. So I wanted to add that to the bottom part of the dress. And I was really inspired by the dress from Fairy Tale. So I wanted to add that part down at the bottom part of the dress instead of the top, because I feel like it just fits better there. So since Glaceon has markings on all of its feet, I'm going to add gloves and also boots. So now that I have the sketch ready, we can move on to choosing where the colors will go and picking out materials. So first things first, let's break down the color scheme. So there's the main, the secondary, and accessory colors, and there can be more than one of each. The main color being the one you see the most, that is the majority of the Pokemon. The secondary color would be the one that is prominent, but not as prominent as the main. Then the accessory colors are all the ones that are seen the least amount. They would be, you know, the eye color, markings. So for an example, I will use Flaffy. Flaffy has the majority pink. It has two secondary main colors that are the grayish black and the whitish color. And then the accessory colors would be the white little feet and the blue ball. Here's just a couple more examples of color scheme breakdowns. Now coming back to the Glaceon drawing, I have my color palette ready. Now since that off-white color is the main color, I'm going to make that the main part of the dress. So the sky blue is going to be the secondary main color on the dress, mostly because the dark teal is only really on markings on Glaceon, so I decided that one was going to be the accessory color instead. I wanted to add just a little bit more white, so I added a translucent white fabric that'll go on top of the skirt. So once you have all your colors there, you can also add in a couple more little details here and there. And I wanted to make Glaceon look a little bit more snowy, a little more frosty. So I decided that the white fabric was going to have a little bit of a sparkle to it, and that it was going to have a couple snowflakes here and there. So on that note, let's move forward to choosing materials. Now the big question is, what do you need to make this? Do you need a certain kind of wig? Do you need a pattern for a certain kind of dress? Do you have to make that pattern? Do you need foam? You gotta keep all those things in mind. Are you going to build it fully from scratch, or are you going to buy and alter something, like going to a thrift store and finding something and then just working with it? And you want to keep in mind the fabrics that will match your theme. For instance, you wouldn't want to make a full leather dress when the dress style has very light, very flowy fabric. Also keep in mind the density of fabrics. Conventions can get very hot, and if you're going to be wearing a lot of layers, you can get overheated very quickly. Do you already have materials that you can use? Maybe you have clothes that are in your closet that you can use. Maybe you have crafting materials that you didn't think about. I cannot stress this enough, but make a list of all the things that you think you'll need before you start. Even if it's something silly like, oh, I think I might need these buttons, I might need this wig cap or makeup. Just keep it in mind, make a list. It's so easy to get lost when you first start making a costume because you'll get focused on one thing and then you're missing something else. And sometimes it takes a long time to get to your house and you're stressing and now you gotta whip something else up. Learn from my mistakes, guys. Learn from them. Last but certainly not least, budgeting. So how much are you willing or able to put into a cosplay? How much will everything cost? Make sure you add that to your list, and always keep the list handy. It is so crucial. Keep in mind that detailed cosplays can get expensive really fast. Make sure you plan for those unexpected costs. Sometimes you'll break a zipper, sometimes the foam won't work out, sometimes you have to try a different material. Just make sure that you have a little bit of extra money set aside. And that sums up my guide. I hope that it was helpful, and I hope that it was easy to understand. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like to support me and my cosplaying and video creations, I have a Ko-fi, and I will be posting more tutorials in the future. So if you have any suggestions or any comment really on any other guides that I could make, I am always up for that. So please give me any feedback. I really appreciate it. And thanks for watching my video.